Hey friends, welcome to DBC Live. I am Tara Martin, your host, and we are super excited to have a guest on the show tonight, Al Thomas. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to connect and discuss all the topics.
Yeah, we are excited to learn from you. So as you are joining in tonight, please do tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do. Maybe share something. I've been saying share something good that happened this week. So let's try something different. Let's share something that made you laugh this week. So as you join in, share something that made you laugh. And Al, we'll let you go first. Maybe you have something. Hey, Dave, welcome. That made you laugh this week before we dive into all the things.
No, so I definitely can jump in really quick. So I have the joy of having an incredible puppy who is an Australian Shepherd mix. And it has been really interesting to see him kind of interacting and just kind of doing his thing, I guess. And so he has a level of energy that I have never seen, but it comes in these spurts of where he is so energetic and then he just crashes. And you never know where he's going to crash, but he crashes and it is just done. And he'll be back ready to go in about 30 minutes. But it is just very interesting just kind of seeing him all over the place. So I had a week of him going up and down and just trying to figure out exactly when the storm is coming. So
Yeah.
if you have puppies out there, I'm sure you have experienced some level of that. And so I am told that we have about 36 months left of that. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing as well. Like they know I have a puppy, so I can relate in every way. Yeah, exactly, Kristen. Puppies are next level. They are so much fun though. I know with Honey, it's just, we always say it's Honey's world. Like we just get the privilege of living in it and we, she pretty much owns it around here. So Dave says that, yeah, Dave is on TikTok now. So Dave, you definitely need to drop your handle over there because I can't wait to see him breaking out some dances. I mean, I'm thinking that's coming soon. I'm hoping so anyway. But the pirate teacher, yes, definitely go follow him. And he's been seeing some funny stuff over there. He sends me all kinds of crazy stuff. I've been sending him TikToks for 2 years though, so I'm kind of glad he's finally on there. Yeah, so we have, yes, Honey did go kayaking. She's just a handful. We are so excited to have Al on the show with us tonight. He is going to share some great stuff that maybe we never even heard before or seen before. And I think that's what's exciting to bring like different faces, different people. I know a lot of times you guys get to hear from DBC authors, but sometimes I think I'm just so excited to learn from our Peel-In. We have so many. So we have several different Peel-In friends that will be joining us on the live shows. Now we'll be rotating every once in a while. So you're not going to have to hear, you're not like have to hear, but you're not going to only hear from DBC Inc. authors all the time. We're changing up the show a little bit. And I love it because I feel like we just get to learn so much more. So Al, you have done so many cool things. You've been a teacher, a coach, a principal, a filmmaker, like all these things. But I would love for you to more formally introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, what you do. You're a dad, you are all the things. So tell us a little more about you, and then we'll dive into some content.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm all the things. And so, but I think that there's quite a few things that I have been able to have the privilege of being a part of. So I've had the privilege of being in the classroom. I've also been able to work as an assistant principal and principal of a secondary campus, which was an amazing experience. And one of the highlights of that is I was able to bring in some of the creativity that I am really passionate about. And we were able to build an audiovisual production lab on our campus to be able to give students opportunities to be able to learn filmmaking and to also learn audio production. And so it was really great as we saw these things come into become accessible to students, and so how they just kind of lit up, and how they were showing up to school early, and how they were staying at school late, and all of these things that were maybe it was a struggle to get them there at some points, but it was an amazing experience just to kind of go through that. Had the privilege, I'm in Texas, so I had the privilege of actually working at a regional service center, servicing about 148 districts. So that was a great experience of being able to work with districts that were getting started and trying to implement technology, and then also working with those that were very knowledgeable and had a ton of experience, but they were trying to look at what they wanted to do next. Fast forward, I had the privilege of working on projects and being a part of crafting things like the Google Certified Coaching Program, the Dynamic Learning Project, and working with that. And then in my spare time, I have, I guess, the multitude of things that I enjoy doing, which is filmmaking and photography. And it's an absolute joy to be able to share that with students. So I get the privilege of working with organizations that I'll hopefully be able to share a little bit about, and the work that they're doing to be able to help provide creativity for students in the classroom.
Yeah, like I said, all the things. I wasn't lying. He can do all kinds of things. And I'm really excited about learning more. Yes, Dave has heard all about just a little bit about how I'm like, he's great. He can do all these things. You talked just briefly about photography, but you talked quite a bit about creativity, and know that's something you're super passionate about. I was wondering if there was something that inspired you to have this passion for students. Like, was it something in your childhood? Was it something like as you were teaching, you started to notice this needed to be more a part of the curriculum? But what was that inspired you to really take this, and this is kind of a big piece of your story?
Yeah. So I think for me, and I'm going to try my best not to cry. A large guy crying is just never, I don't know if that's a good thing on camera.
That's precious.
So it's one of the things where I would tell you is, I think always as a kid, I was always doing something creative, and just kind of tinkering, drawing. It's a huge part of just kind of my experience growing up. It just was very natural for me to be able to dive into. I think the most notable moment, and I share this oftentimes when I speak, is an opportunity I had in the English class. And I share it. If you've ever read Beowulf or had to read Beowulf in class, you know that is not the easiest story to be able to dive into. And I remember having some struggles in the classroom with being able to write this report. I knew the story, but for some reason, it just wasn't connecting with me being able to get words out. And so I remember my teacher pulling me off to the side and just having a conversation with me. And it was such a moment that I will never forget, because she asked me some questions, and she could clearly see I knew the story. And she just said, "Hey, how would you like to share what you know?" And that was one of those moments where it was kind of tricky, because I was in that place of like, okay, do I just give the standard answer as a student and just say, well, can I write a shorter paper? Can I write it in a different way? But I said, hey, can I illustrate it? And without flinching, she said yes. And so I was given this opportunity to be able to, and how I often share it was a unique opportunity that I had at that time to be able to bring my full self to the work that I was doing, to what I was creating and sharing with the classroom, what I was sharing with my peers. It gave me an opportunity for me to be able to share my passion, and a skill set that many of them maybe didn't know that I had. So it was one of those things where I spent more time reading Beowulf. I studied, I read other pieces that talked about the story, just so that I could make sure that I honored this opportunity to be able to do something completely different. And then going into education and realizing that she had no rubric, she had no systems, there was nothing in place for her to be able to do this, but she created this opportunity and space for me to do something because she saw a need in a student. And I think that's been a story that has resonated with me over time, and really was kind of, I would say, the catalyst for me not only creating in kind of in isolation, but to being comfortable being able to share what I create, and putting it out in the world, and being just very comfortable that I shared my unique self. So if that makes sense. And so
I love that. And I always think that there's always a story behind really what launches our passions, or somebody that sees something in us and helps us to draw it out and be comfortable sharing it with the world. And I'm sure that was maybe hard at first, sharing with your peers in that way, but you're such a prolific creator now. And so I'm sure like you helping other people to ship their work is every bit a part of you not only seeing the passion and the talents and the strengths and the creativity in everybody and how unique it is, but also encouraging them to ship it, which is oftentimes, I think, what Dave has to do a lot for our company when authors get to this place, me for one, that like, it's like, maybe I just wrote this book for me. Like maybe it's just like a healing process for me. And he's like, no, it's time to ship it. And I think that's where a lot of creators kind of get to that place. They wonder, like, how will the world receive this? But in truth, I like your story because it's just like, okay, this is the best, like, this is a great way for me to be able to share my learning. And so you've taken that and I'll run with it in the educational system in multiple different levels. So, so I'm wondering if you want to talk to us a little bit about your passion, about creativity, maybe something we could take and use in our own world. I mean, the story alone we can take and just look for those in our system that need a different outlet and provide them that choice, that opportunity, just like that teacher did for you. But I didn't know if you wanted to share some other things as well.
Yeah, I absolutely do want to share a few things, but I want to go back to really quickly what you just mentioned, because I think that's it's an important aspect of being able to be creative. Oftentimes share is, yeah, it's great to be able to create, and creativity is not limited to someone who can write or who can draw, who can paint, and all of the things that we jump to and say, I can't do this, so I'm not creative.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things of just reminding is, once you create something and you put it out in the world, you're giving that away for people to be able to interpret and to be able to enjoy. And what I oftentimes will share, and I actually will be keynoting an event here very soon and sharing a little bit more about this, but my journey started with a series of sparks that happened, whether it was my brother at a young age and seeing his creativity when it came to engineering, or seeing the teacher who gave me opportunities, and many, many others. Those things that I saw in other people caused sparks in me to be able to be curious and want me to and cause me to be able to explore, okay, what's my spark? And I think that alone is something that I would encourage people to think about when you're creating or when you are putting your work out into this world, that it's really thinking about the impact that could have in one life, motivating one person to be able to make a change and to pursue something that they wouldn't otherwise. I think there is so much power in that when we are willing to be free and just giving our work to the world and letting them interpret it how they may. I think it can be very powerful and very freeing to be able to do that. So with that said, I will share definitely some activities that will hopefully be beneficial. So one of the areas that, and I will jump over, thank you for sharing. So one of the areas that I love to be able to just kind of share is a few different places where, one, I like to just be able to drop in content. One of the activities that I absolutely love is actually stems from an organization that I have the privilege of being able to be a part of. And that is 100 Cameras. So 100 Cameras is an organization that does amazing work in the fact of being able to help students be able to learn skills like photography, and then being able to get them an opportunity to be able to identify needs in their neighborhoods and to be able to sell their photos so that they can actually take those funds and actually impact those areas that the students have identified. So it's giving students an opportunity to be able to learn skills and to be able to take those skills and be able to apply them to make a change and a difference in the classroom or in the community that they're in. So this is one of the areas I would definitely tell you to check out. They've created some amazing resources. So they have a space that is available that is called the Where You Are workshop. They do face-to-face programs, but they also do programs that allow for students to be able to dive in and be able to learn creativity through photography. So you can jump in here into the Where You Are workshops and be able to learn that. So some of the activities that I absolutely love sharing, and I'll just share this really quickly. One of my favorite activities is being able to do simple photo walk activities that you can do into the classroom. So I'm going to give you kind of a rapid succession of these topics. So please reach out if you have any questions. I love talking. I love seeing what people create. And these are things I would challenge you to do even tonight, because I think you'll see how simple they are to be able to bring in the classroom and the impact that they can have. So one of the things I love doing, is one of my favorite activities, is actually steps. So this is basically thinking of a number, and you can, as a teacher, you can give the number to your students, and then you want them to take that series of steps, and then you want them to stop wherever they are. They need to capture a unique photo. Can be anything that they can see. And when you start doing this activity, you'll notice that students will capture things in front of them. They will capture things that are just really kind of standard photos, but challenging them to, okay, give me something else, and give me something else. What else do you see? Then you'll start seeing students start to look above them. They'll start looking below. They'll start zooming in. They'll start doing all these things that, instead of settling for the simple and the easy route, they start to push and start to come up with some really unique things. One of the other activities I love doing with students is color walks. Color walks are a great way for students to be able to engage with their environment and be able to explore. So giving them a color and then having them capture a photo that's unique in the environment that they're in with that specific color. So all activities that can just kind of get students up and moving, get them active, get them thinking. And usually once they've gone through this creative process of being able to engage and kind of see the world in a different way, they oftentimes will come back into other activities with a much fresher perspective to be able to dive in and to be able to learn. So many great activities. One of my other favorites is, and sorry, please stop me because I could go on for the next
keep going.
24 hours. So there are just tons. One of my favorite activities, and this is an activity that actually stems from 100 cameras, that is, it's my journey. So what you do is you actually have students plot out basically thinking about a period of time, and then those students need to think about the emotions that they were feeling in this specific time period. And what they're going to do is they're going to just kind of think through, hey, what was something that comes to mind that was maybe something that was a highlight, and something that maybe was a low light. And then you're just creating the graphs and just kind of capturing that. This is something that students can then take and capture photos that actually represent each one of those places. So that's a great way for them to start to really think through and processing, especially students who may be struggling emotionally regarding certain issues, or maybe students, it's worked really great when students who maybe got into a confrontation with other students, so they can actually think through and visualize exactly what they were thinking during that period. So it gives them a way to be able to really process and go through. It was really beneficial, especially as I take students through this activity when it was during COVID, or it was during situations along those lines. And what I would say is that these can be done with students of all ages. You just scale it down. So if it's a student that maybe is not capturing, or you don't have cameras, or you don't have equipment for them to be able to capture, just illustrating and being able to capture those emotions and being able to use that is a great way to do it. Tools like Adobe Express or Canva, those are all great tools that you can use that are free, that you can dive into and use, where students can use even the icons and graphics that are built into those systems, and be able to just kind of create their own visual representation of either their emotions or what they've captured. So all ages. And what I would tell you is, and this is something I often share, is I will give a task, and I don't care what tool you use to be able to create. I just want you to create. I want you to go in. I want you to dive in. I want you to explore, because oftentimes I'll come up with tools that I've never heard of, or there will be tools that are really great for a certain student to be able to use because they're really comfortable with it. And then there's others that they'll just find that, hey, this is really great. And I just want to give this as a try. I want to explore because I'm really passionate about fill in the blank, photography, filmmaking, whatever it may be. And I just really want to push the boundaries of what is being asked of me. So I would tell you, you can do this at any level. It's really just knowing your students and giving them an opportunity and space and being comfortable, especially in the early stages of what you get back from the students, because you'll get some very unique artifacts of learning. So
for sure. And I think too, like there's so many ways to extend it too. I see some other questions over in the comments. And well, first of all, is there a website for 100 cameras? I don't think I have it. I may, but if you don't mind, if you'll just drop that in the private chat, I'll drop it over in the comments. But I see like the steps, for example, as an ELA teacher, I feel like that just is a perfect way, or even Kristen, like in your science class, I can see where this would be so helpful, like just to start the conversation of whatever the topic is we're doing. It could be a great like writing prompt. They went out there, they took those steps and they took this picture, and then now they have to like come up with some story around this picture. There's just so many different ways that you could take this idea and scale it in many different levels of learning and many different content areas too. I feel like it works for anything. So
and I would definitely tell you that one of the things that you can do is actually not have it be the student. So have the students capture images, but then have them collect the photos and then randomize them and have students receive different photos, which is a great way to get them to, one, value the work of other students, and to be able to, once again, kind of push their thinking as far as how can I use this to be able to craft the story. So
I love that. And one of the activities I do in professional development and in class too is called Picture This, but it's with abstract art. So I think you could do just like what you said, randomize it, let them choose, and then ask them just the open-ended question of what do you see? And just let them like say what they see from their perspective. I just think it's so cool when you have like this picture and maybe the creator had a certain intent of why they took that picture, but what other people see, it's like all these different perspectives. And it just teaches us to like value other people's, what they bring to the table too. So I love everything about that. Yeah, exactly. Justina, thanks for sharing. So we'll let you continue on. I know you have lots of things to share with us tonight and we're running close on time, but it's okay. We'll just take whatever you will give us. Oh, I think
it's the age that we live in. So yeah. You're on mute. You're muted. So
it's the common thing. It's okay. I get told that all the time.
So I'll just share a few more resources. So one, on my website, there you can see some activities and things that are available for you to be able to kind of also dive into. One of the things that I love being able to just kind of share as you go in, you can see that there is also a creative guide of 5 ways that you can bring creativity into your classroom. So I would definitely encourage you to check that out. I also oftentimes we'll get the conversation of, I'm just trying to figure out what gear that I need. How do I be able to use this? And it's always great to be able to invest. And I am someone who definitely is comfortable investing in equipment that I am going to use. But I would also say that oftentimes that can be a struggle for educators as they're trying to figure out what they're doing. So I've created some under the gear kit. You can actually go there and there's a variety of different kits of things if you're wanting to start doing live streams, if you're wanting to start actually even capturing photos, a variety of different gear kits that I would say that I recommend that you checking out. And one of the other things really quickly, because I know that we're coming short on time, is I would encourage you to check out the Creative App Database. That is also a great place for you to be able to discover different apps that I have personally used. These are great apps that I have tried. One of the things I am just not a fan of is the fact of being able to like find a great tool, something that you can use, and then all of a sudden it is gone or it disappears. So these are all things that I've tried. These are you can search and actually see things that are free. You can see some that are paid. You can see a variety of different things that may be beneficial for you to be able to try out and be able to use. So I would definitely tell you to check it out. You may discover something that is really cool there. And then one last thing I'll just share really quickly, and then I'll turn it back over, is next week I will have the privilege of actually keynoting the Adobe Education Summit. That is going to be an opportunity for you to dive in and actually hear the keynote that I'll be sharing. That'll dive a little bit more into the topics that we're going to be doing. And I see that the link has been dropped in. So please, I would encourage you to register. There are so many incredible speakers that will be joining that event. So definitely take some time to be able to just kind of dive in. I think you'll discover that there are some resources that you will develop that you will really enjoy as you join that event. So I will turn it back over and I will go wherever the conversation needs to go.
This is awesome. Well, I already registered for the event, so I'm excited. It's on my calendar. I think Dave did too. So we are excited to jump in there and listen to you. And also there's quite a few speakers in there. I think, like you said, there's just so many opportunities to hear some different ways that we can bring creativity into the classroom and lots of different things that people have to share. So if you're not signed up, it is virtual, it is free. And we did drop the link over in the comment section. It's very easy to sign up. It took me 2 seconds, 30 seconds to sign up. So you do check that out. And yeah, this has been awesome. So I'm curious if anyone has questions. Most people are saying, thank you so much for sharing. This is fun. I saw a lot earlier asking about or saying that they felt like they would use a couple of those strategies that you shared with steps and the other ones as well. Like there's so many things I'm thinking about at this moment. Crush your keynote, Dave says. He will, of course. Thank you. That's so sweet. No, I was kidding. So anyways, thank you so much for joining us again for Thursday Night Lab. Thank you, Al, for sharing so much good stuff. I think that, if teachers are going into the school year, I know that there's like 1,000 things that teachers think about when they're starting the school year, right? And they hear all these great things and they might even get some more ideas from the Adobe Summit. What is kind of like, I think it'd be fun to end like this, but what is a tip that you have for them to encourage them, yes, to take the risk? Because one of the things you mentioned earlier that really stood out to me was that when we do take the risk and we share creativity or we allow others to do the same, we are like modeling for people that are onlooking that we don't even see, right? There's a lot of people looking at and they're like, whoa, Al did this. Like, maybe I could try this, or if Amy added this in her classroom, well, I mean, maybe I could try this. So what encouragement do you have for teachers when they're bombarded with all the first of the year stuff to go ahead and still stay true to that promise they made themselves when they listened to your keynote and they were excited about trying this new thing in their classroom?
Yeah, I would say just be patient with yourself. I think it is oftentimes the biggest struggle is that we see someone else, we see where they're at, and we have this thinking that, hey, this is something that I really want to be able to do, but then we have this chasm where it's like my skill set is just not there, and then oftentimes we can get lost in the middle. I am just a firm believer that it's a process. And when we look back and we see all of the things that we've learned over time, we may not land exactly where we wanted to or we thought we were, but we will land in a really great place that feels more comfortable being able to experience things like creativity and bring those into the classroom for your students. So I'm always encouraging, just be patient along the journey, and then also be very comfortable bringing others on the journey with you, because I've noticed that when I've had the privilege of being able to go on this journey of being able to have creativity in my life, that it's something that as I have seen people who are also wanting to pursue that, encouraging them to come along, they've learned things from me and I've learned things from them. So it's there's a community that's available for educators to be able to dive into creativity. And then I would also just encourage you to really think about that there are some great, there are just some great resources that really will help you along the journey. And then at the end of the day, I would just, I would encourage, and I will speak for those educators that are doing that as a former administrator, is administrators, if you're listening, I would encourage you to really think about the encouragement that you can bring to a teacher who's exploring and trying these things out. As you walk in to observe, there's something that I would just encourage you to think about, is that this is a great opportunity for you to be able to dive in, to join in, to be able to experience exactly what they're doing, to be able to learn and to be able to grow in that situation as well. So there's so much that we can learn, and I would just encourage administrators to come shoulder to shoulder and be able to learn with your staff as they're implementing things like creativity in the classroom.
For sure. I think that's the best feeling too, when you have a boss or a leader that's not only, as you said, encourages, but also supports the learner, which at that point is the teacher, in this process, because it is a process. I feel like never is, Dave and I were talking about this just the other day about DBC University, for example. It's a project that started a year ago, and I'm ready for it to be going like fast. Like, I feel like we should not be turning a pirate ship like one little dial at a time. Like, we're in a speedboat at this point. I feel like we should be going, but we're not. We're still like just kind of turning things. And I think as leaders, luckily I have Dave, I have Shelly, and they are always quick to remind me like, hey, this is a process. Like, we're learning through the process. This is moving in the right direction. We just can't turn at the, like a jet ski. Like, that's just not the way it moves at this point. And so I think it's good for us to be reminded of that as leaders too, that, you know, your people might be trying some cool stuff in their classroom, and maybe it doesn't look like learning at first. It looks messy, it looks chaotic, but there is some things happening in the process of all of that, and they are moving in a great direction that provides their kids with so many opportunities to have their voices heard. So thank you so much for reminding of us that, and also for encouraging us to keep trying and keep putting creativity at the forefront of what we do in education. So we are so grateful to have you here.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to join in. And like I often say, and hence the name, I am here to support. So if there's anything that I can do, I'm just feel free to reach out, whether it's integrating technology or if it's just creativity or just, hey, you've tried something out and it completely bombed. I will gladly share many stories that I have of the exact same thing happening. And so I look forward to connecting and reaching. So please reach out.
For sure. And we shared your website and all of the different sites that you mentioned during the video. They also are above and below this video if you're watching this on the playback. And then if you want to follow Al on Twitter, you can find him at Educopilot, and also on Instagram, the same thing. So we put that up on the screen. Be sure and click that link and follow him for more greatness. He's also a photographer. You didn't talk a ton about photography, but we'll just have you on for another show for that.
We'll do.
We could do that too, but you can check out some of his awesome work on his Instagram page too. But thanks again for coming on, Al. We just love learning from you, and we really appreciate all the great things you have to share tonight.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you next time.